This is Static City News, broadcasting raw and unfiltered from the underbelly of Chroma Colony. I'm Jaeger Grant, your favorite voice in the static.
And I'm Lyra Kestrel, charting the deep void so you don't have to. Strap in. Between toll gate shakedowns, Blackwater long shots, and gray veil anomalies that are already devouring federal budgets, we've got plenty to cover.
Crack open that brew, lock your nav to Pirate Band TX77, and let's surf the neon. Static City starts now. Hard to believe, but deep space commerce has turned into a carbon copy of old-school maritime trade. Toll gates, privateers, even the occasional ghost ship legend. Same script, bigger stage.
We've color-coded the lanes into tiered danger zones, each one a different mix of profit and panic.
Let's start with Zone 1, the Blue Roads. Picture beacon buoys blazing brighter than the hollow sky of Chroma's upper domes and corporate gunboats stationed every few clicks. Nearly 70% of all legitimate interstellar commerce pours through these lanes. The safest ride in the void, provided you can stomach the tolls.
Those safety measures don't come cheap, though. I've heard the docking taxes can run into the millions of credits per standard cargo load.
That's right. Some analysts estimate that Zone 1 tolls eat up about 30% of a typical merchant's profit margin. But here's the thing. Insurance rates in Zone 1 are about 1/10 of what you'd pay in other zones.
Speaking of insurance, what about those Zone 2 silk rails? The name sounds elegant, but the reality is anything but.
Zone 2's numbers are sobering. Last year, micrometeoroid strikes took out roughly 8% of all ships. Grim, but still safer than the casualty rates in Zones 3 and 4.
Courier pilots need nerves of steel, and the rewards reflect it. They pull in up to 3 times the pay of standard haulers. It's a rock-solid industry, with steady VIP data runs and encrypted payload contracts that come with upper-tier HAB modules, Holo Lounge memberships, and even Synthwave-themed terraces on terraformed estates. At the top, elite pilots fly sponsor livery skipjacks, tearing up desert outpost racetracks and hosting casino charter flights. But the margins are razor-thin. One misstep in the foggy conduits can be fatal. For those with the stomach, though, it's the fastest ticket to a life most spacers only dream of.
Well, consider this. A typical courier run along the silk rails demands roughly 72 hours of uninterrupted, high-precision navigation. No pit stops, no autopilot naps. Stray by a fraction of a degree or blink at the wrong instant, and you could face hull breach scenarios straight out of a horror holo manga. In fact, about 16% of known Silk Rail's voyages end in catastrophic loss. These long-haul commissions skirt most governmental checkpoints, making them especially coveted, and the payout on a pilot's first successful Silk Rail's run can be life-changing. To survive the unforgiving void and energetic landings, many pilots equip themselves with custom neural sync interfaces featuring reinforced frames and shock-dampening subsystems, ensuring they stay wired in through every jolt, crash avoidance burn, and gravity well slingshot.
That reminds me of something interesting. The micrometeoroid detection systems they use are actually adapted from ancient asteroid mining technology. The same basic principle, just refined for higher speeds.
And speaking of mining, let's chart a course into Zone 3, the dreaded Blackwater. Recent surveys peg nearly 50,000 unclaimed resource nodes drifting beyond the last supply beacon. The prize? Rare metals, crystalline lattices, and exotic formations that refine into high-end tech components, battle-grade armor plating, and other coveted commodities. But it's no gold rush. Only about 5% of prospectors strike a truly lucrative vein, another 45% eke out modest gains, and the remaining 50% return empty-handed, of which nearly 10% never make it home at all. Out here, no corporate convoys patrol the lanes. You're on your own against micrometeor swarms, volatile gas pockets, and rival claim jumpers armed to the teeth. Prospectors range from wide-eyed rookies chasing a quick score in a single skiff to hardened veterans commanding multi-ship fleets with drone swarm support. Some of the greenhorns pay with lost hulls and shattered hopes. The veterans pay with constant vigilance and ever-escalating wagers of cred and crew lives. Only the hardiest operators dare drop anchor in these dead quiet fields, hauling fortune, or notoriety, back to the nearest settlement, if they make it home at all.
Those are some grim numbers. Though I've heard the potential payoff can be astronomical. Pun intended.
Ever wonder who the most legendary prospector in the void is? His name's Aron Marchant. Buckle up. Let me tell you his story. Deep in the Blackwater, veteran prospector Aron Marchant intercepted an anomalous resonance on a routine sweep of an uncharted system. Tracking the signal to a barren dwarf moon, his survey drones uncovered a seam of translucent indigo crystal stretching for kilometers beneath the frozen crust. An asset worth more than 12 quadrillion credits, enough to bankroll an entire Class B colony. Dubbed Nullite, the crystal behaves like a densely packed metallic onion, layer upon microscopic layer of zero-point lattice compressed to extremes. In its raw state, it shrugs off heat, pressure, radiation, and particle lance fire. Yet master fabricators can phase forge it with focused sonic blacksmithing. Resonant pulses coax the layers to unfurl without letting the molecular bonds drift, effectively inflating the mass while preserving ultra-dense integrity. The resulting alloy's tensile strength dwarfs modern hull composites. A single gram replaces tons of conventional plating, photonic filaments double as passive sensor arrays, microfractures self-heal under nanofilm, and the material remains virtually immune to radiation, granting near-immortal durability to whatever it armors. Word of the strike reached System Lord Sarah's Talon within a single comm cycle. Talon wired 600 trillion credits in mineral bonds for exclusive extraction rights, and, as part of the pact, elevated Marchant to noble status, granting him stewardship over a freshly terraformed Class B world, and transforming a lone Blackwater drifter into interstellar aristocracy.
That's absolutely mind-blowing.
Time to push past the prospecting frontier and into the real unknown, Zone 4. The cartographers call it the Gray Veil, but the label is more catch-all than coordinate.
Exactly. Zone 4 isn't a single quadrant. It's any region so poorly mapped, or so warped by anomalies, that standard nav charts go static. If an unexplained event pops up anywhere in the void, Command can tag it Zone 4 overnight.
Even hardcore Blackwater miners steer clear. Zone 4 sits beyond established prospecting lanes, and the risk-to-reward ratio makes Blackwater look like a kiddie pool.
Exploration here is almost exclusively bankrolled by governments or multi-system federations pooling fleets and science vessels. They run LiDAR sweeps, drop beacon buoys, and pray nothing eats the sensors.
Before we rattle off casualty stats, let's zoom in on the nightmares that earned Zone 4 its reputation. From warped gravity wells to time-skipping pockets, these anomalies aren't rumors. They're logged by every black box that limps back across the line. Here's what crews have actually reported. First up, temporal shear bubbles. 1 second you're running normal time, the next your hull ages 30 years while your wrist cron shows 5 minutes.
Yeah, crew comes back with gray hair, and their maintenance logs are suddenly antiques. Spooks the fleet auditors every time.
Number 2, gravity knots. Invisible wells that yank freighters off course and slingshot them into who knows where.
If you're lucky, you pop out a few sectors over. If not, you're a ghost. Ping the cartographer's label Lost Vector.
Number 3 on our Zone 4 horror list, the megafauna encounters. Picture a sentient fungal leviathan that hollowed out an entire dwarf moon, turning it into a drifting corpse. Ground teams swore the surface rippled underfoot, like a conveyor of metal shavings, just before the mycelium tried to digest their landers.
The evac was a nightmare. It took an Apocalypse-class expeditionary fleet, self-sustaining dreadnoughts with onboard farms and fab rings, to punch a corridor through that biomass and pull the crews out.
And the story doesn't end there. When word of the zombie moon hit the inner courts, System Lord Edric Vale launched his personal Iron Oath armada. 7 Apocalypse-class battleships, 2 colony carriers, and a grav-tether citadel, all capable of living off the rubble for decades.
Vale's orders? Total purge. The Armada will siege that husk until every spore is vitrified, then broadcast a sector-wide quarantine beacon. Those ships refine local ore, grow their own crops, and print munitions on demand, meaning they can glass the rock and keep watch for as long as it takes.
So, Next time you're charting a Gray Veil run, remember, some planets bite back, and it takes an army that doubles as a mobile colony to put them down for good.
The corporate houses, let's be honest, the galaxy's royal families still refuse to greenlight mycology teams anywhere near that sector. And why would they? Every major company is really a bloodline, and its reigning system lord owns the balance sheet. Risking heirs and research capital on a moon-sized zombie fungus makes zero sense when a single spore breach could chew through a dynasty's asset list faster than a boardroom purge.
And rounding it out, quantum fissures, subspace pockets, where signals loop back. You pick up a distress call. Turns out it's your own mayday from 10 hours into the future.
Nav AIs lock into rescue mode, burn the tanks dry, and the reactors coast to silence. Talk about answering yourself into oblivion. Classified numbers suggest barely 5% of Zone 4 expeditions return with usable intel, and nearly a third of those crews come back psychologically shredded, raving about lights inside the dark.
Translation? Without a government charter and a dreadnought-grade escort, you're not coming home.
Because one stable wormhole or new element deposit could bankroll an empire.
It's the cosmic lottery. One ticket buys you a star system. The rest becomes static on an unmarked frequency. Side note. More than a few current system lords launched their rise after a single Gray Veil haul, returning with breakthrough tech, undiscovered isotopes, or resource maps that pushed known space outward. One successful Zone 4 run can catapult an anonymous skipper into sector-shaping nobility overnight.
I suppose it's not too different from Earth's history. We've always had our mysterious regions where ships and crews vanish without a trace.
Exactly. And just like historical maritime trade, we've developed our own superstitions and practices. Did you know that about 85% of space crews perform some kind of ritual before entering the Blackwater or Zone 4?
I've sat through those crossing ceremonies. Took part in one, really just an excuse for a zero-G party. Fun fact, the latest Guild of the Void security brief shows pirate raids in Zone 2 up 40%, while Zone 1 barely moves the needle.
That makes sense. The risk-reward ratio in Zone 1 just isn't worth it for most pirates. Not with those corporate gunboats on patrol. Those gunboats are impressive pieces of technology. Each one carries enough firepower to disable a small fleet, and their sensor arrays can detect unauthorized ships from several light minutes away.
The maintenance costs must be astronomical. No wonder those Zone 1 tolls are so high.
Actually, recent economic analysis suggests that only about 40% of Zone 1 tolls go towards security maintenance. The rest is pure profit for the corporations that control these routes.
That's quite a markup. Though I suppose when you're the only safe option in space, you can charge whatever you want.
It's classic supply and demand. And speaking of economics, let's talk about the insurance industry that's grown up around these space lanes. Did you know that insurance premiums for Silk Rail runs are typically 500% higher than Blue Road coverage?
That's a massive difference. Though considering the risks involved, I'm surprised they offer coverage at all.
Well, here's something interesting. Most insurance companies employ former courier pilots as risk assessors. These veterans know exactly what can go wrong on a Silk Rail run, and they price their policies accordingly.
That makes a lot of sense. Experience is probably the best teacher when it comes to space lane navigation.
And that experience comes at a high price. The average life expectancy of a Silk Rail courier is about 15 years shorter than that of a Blue Road cargo hauler. The stress alone takes a tremendous toll.
Those statistics really drive home that old spacer maxim about Blue Roads bleeding you dry but Blackwater bleeding you dead.
You know, recent psychological studies suggest that the very existence of these mysterious zones serves a valuable social function. They're like pressure valves for society, places where the desperate or the visionary can vanish when conventional life becomes too constraining.
That's a fascinating perspective. So these zones aren't just trade routes, they're actually crucial parts of our social infrastructure?
Exactly. Just like the frontier zones of Earth's past, they provide opportunities for those willing to risk everything for a fresh start. Whether that's prospectors in the Blackwater or seekers in Zone 4, these zones represent possibility. Dangerous possibility, but possibility nonetheless.
And I suppose that's really what space exploration has always been about. Pushing boundaries, taking risks, seeking the unknown.
Well, that brings us full circle, doesn't it? From the safety of the blue roads to the mysteries of the Zone 4, we've recreated our entire terrestrial experience in space, complete with safe harbors, dangerous frontiers, and places where reality itself seems to break down.
If you want the real stories from both sides of Chroma Colony's gleaming wall, that subscribe ping for Static City News. We'll keep the signal clean, the static loud, and the truth flowing.